Hello. It's Monday. It's the first Monday in September in a brand new season. And I am back in my office, which is all about being changed around still. I'm not quite in my usual place. I'm not quite settled. And I wasn't actually sure whether I was going to jump on. But anyway, here I am. I decided to go live. And I hope you are able to join me for the next 10-15 minutes. It probably won't be a long one, but I felt it was quite important that I did this one today. So hopefully what I'm going to share is going to be of use for you as well. So the topic of today is all about how to make the most of September. Like I said, the first Monday in September. And it's kind for a lot of people, it's back to school, back to job, back to work after maybe a long summer holiday. Obviously, if you if you live down under, it might be slightly different, but it's still a new season ahead. And before I forget, obviously, if you are watching this, and let me just move the screen a bit. If you are watching this live, then don't forget to let me know. Feel free to ask questions, send me emojis, do a hashtag live. If you are watching it on replay, then put that in the chat as well. So yeah, we're back. I'm back. I had a lovely weekend camping. Wasn't quite sure about the weather. We were extremely lucky because yesterday we came home and there was a massive thunderstorm and it was so loud everything shook in our house when anyway. I love a good thunderstorm, and it sparks the atmosphere. It like charges the earth. It releases a lot of energy in the atmosphere, and generally, yes, it changes things up. And I feel that is very much what happened this morning as well. My son's gone back to school. I was hoping to have my office finished for today's work, which didn't quite go according to plan. But anyway, here we are, and it's a brand new season, and it's for many it can maybe feel, and I don't know if this is affecting the volume on you. I just realized that I had the volume quite low on my computer. For many people might feel that this transition in September is a bit jarring, maybe a bit not, a bit difficult. And let me explain why. It's for some people love September. I personally, I think I love all the months of the year, and I love September too. I've grown to love it even more, I think, as in the last, I don't know, decade or so. But basically, with the new moon in Virgo just over a week ago, we've now transitioned from Leo season, Leo, which is all about the partying and the fun, going from that, which is basically summer holiday, into the back to work, which is Virgo. Virgo is very structured. Virgo is very much about being organized and being meticulous about things, being very physical and tangible about things. And for some people, that can be a really, really difficult transition. And like I said, it's something that I have grown to learn. I mentioned in a previous live as well that this transition is almost like a bigger one than the new year. When you go from December into November, January, you go from December to January. So it's almost like a more powerful transition because we've going back into a season which is very much about doing. But that is exactly the point of my live today, because how do we get the most of it? For some people, it might feel like really draining coming back. And not least if you've been able to have like a living, like free-spirited, maybe for a while over the summer, and now you have to kind of knuckle down and kind of do the work, and you kind of go like, oh, but how do I get the energy to do this? Now, that's what this talk is all about. I've done lots of notes, and I promised myself I would stick to them today. So, also this September especially is a very, how shall I say, a creatively charged month. So I'm not only talking artistically here, but just generally like lots of inspiration, lots of ideas, lots of new things, and not least finding new ways of doing things. So this week and possibly all of September as well, it's very much about not jumping in, but listening to that inspiration and those ideas as they come in. Because often when we get inspiration or like a creative influx or input, if you like, when that comes, it's often in a subtle way. And I mean, I get them all the time, all day long. And if I don't write them down and act upon it, then often I will just forget because I am very much an ideas person. But it's that thing of actually doing something tangible with those things that inspire us, because they are there to kind of help us along our journey so that we don't just get stuck in the same groove. I sometimes compare it to, when you have a commute to work and you're always going the same way and you see the same things and eventually it becomes so predictable. You feel you know the people that you see because it's the same faces at the same time. You're starting to wonder, oh, was I early? Was that person late? Because, there's that thing. And sometimes we just need to change things up a bit. We are not here to just kind of live a life that's limited to what we can see and imagine right now. We are here to expand, and I fully believe also live a really happy life, with lots of health and hygge as well, but also to kind of grow and expand not only our views of the world, but also ourselves. So, um, this this month is very much about taking it easy and easing yourself into it. But at the same time, it's this season of back to work, knuckling down, getting organized, doing stuff. And I will, on that point, just say that I learned very early on in my life about the 80-20 rule or the 20-80 rule, depending on how you say it. And it's a phrase that's being bashed about by many. It's a phrase that's being used in all aspects of life, really. But basically, when the one I'm talking about is that it's the work, the actual work, is the 20%. And the 80% of it is the mindset. It's the thoughts, it's the ideas, and it's the inspiration behind it. So I'll give a practical example. As me as a dancer, that if I, for example, have to like do a performance, then the inspiration and like settling on actually giving it a shape or a form would be the majority of the work. And then once that is, it's quite, I won't say easy, but at least you then have something very tangible to work towards. And that's what I mean by the 20-80. So when I talk about the mindset, I'm talking about the mustering up the energy to kind of weed out those thoughts as well, to kind of show up as your best self, to kind of pay attention to what you're thinking, and not least how you're reacting maybe to things that happen around you, and also the inspiration, noticing the inspiration when it comes in, and then doing something with it. It's also about noticing the gremlins when they come in, the maybe not so positive thoughts, or the thoughts that we've been conditioned to. And we all have it, like, oh, so and so did so and so. Or we start comparing ourselves and we start seeing people different than from ourselves. And that's okay. That's part of being us, it's part of being human, I always say. But it's kind of noticing, when we kind of jump into that kind of thinking, because once we take the time to notice, that's also when we can change it. And paying attention is the first step to anything, really, the awareness. Once we gain the awareness, then we can start changing things. And that applies to anything in life, whether that's big, you want to create more happiness in your life. Whether you want to lose weight, you start being more aware of food and so on. You know, what kind of food you actually, fuel your body with and so on. It's paying attention, and it's very much the paying attention to the thoughts first and foremost that's going to make a difference. So now, with the change of the season, like obviously here it's gone noticeably cooler now, which is actually really nice. If you live in the southern hemisphere, it's probably starting to get warmer, and that will give you a boost of energy, whereas here actually the slightly cooler weather also has given me a boost of energy because I feel I want to do more. I must admit, at the same time, I am feeling very tired, and there is a very good reason for that. And like I said, there's astrologically speaking, there's a lot of energies about at the moment. And we're also coming up now. A lot of people might freak out, but we're coming up to a Mercury retrograde, which is going to, I believe, is around the 10th, 9th or 10th of September, and that will go on all the way until October. And that can, for some people, also kind of cause, like that frustration, things not really working out. Maybe you're feeling really tight in your energetically, that you haven't got the energy to do things, and when you do things, then things might not go right. But I am a very strong believer that the retrogrades, you can do if you don't believe in them, you don't have to, but basically it's a key time to reassess and reattune and yes, everything about you and your kind of life. It's the time when technology sometimes fails. It's the time where things might just not go plain. Also, if you're traveling and so on. But that's okay, because it's an opportunity to kind of look at how we kind of go through life anyway, and readjust maybe our own expectations, and also our kind of how shall I say that? Our our expectations of life and of ourselves, and generally reconsider and recharge and replug. So September is that month of doing. That is expected to kind of do things, because we're coming back to work. It's about being structured and so on. But like I say, it's also that key time to recommit, I think, to yourself and your own values as well. And that can work in many different ways. As I said, it can, if it's health related, you want to work on your health, and it's all about paying attention first and foremost about your thoughts. But again, this applies to everything. Whether you want to change a routine, maybe some the stuff you're doing right now, you come back, especially if you've had a holiday, you come back and you realize that the way you were doing things, you're like, why did I have always done it like this? It's just not really working. Now is the time to reevaluate and restructure the way that you're doing things. And this is kind of leading up, it was all of September, leading up to and including this Mercury retrograde. So, but also it's about managing your own energy, because we are in a season where we're expected to kind of go and do a lot of things. And when we do a lot of things, we can often kind of run out of energy. It might also be that you don't feel you have energy because this whole transition into September and coming back to work is just not quite working for you. So I've got some little tips and a little something coming up as well that I'm going to share with you. But I think all of this month, one of my buzzwords are going to be energy. So here are 3 tips basically on how to increase, improve, maintain your energy throughout this month and this kind of transitioning of the seasons, and whether that is the how do we say that, the meteo, can't say that, the actual physical seasons in nature, meteorological, I can't say it, there we go, English is not my first language, or whether it's more of an astrological season. So cleaning house or clearing house, If you didn't already do it during the summer, have like a nice clear out and everything, then now is a really good time. Clearing out, reevaluating what's working, what's not working, but also again, because it's the change of the season, it kind of invites us to look at what we've got and maybe starting to, especially if you live in the northern hemisphere, you start getting the candles out and the warmer throws. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, that's maybe where you put all of that into the cupboard and you start looking at clearing house in general. Now, it can also be more of proverbial clearing, okay? So it can be, like I said, the clearing of routines that are not really working for you anymore. If you're commuting, look at going another way, or maybe another way of getting there, changing your route, changing your outlook or your perspective. And yeah, basically look at and assess what is right in front of you and how you can maybe change it to work for you better. Obviously, if you're happy with everything, that's great too. Then keep nature close. So if this again doesn't matter whether you live north or south of the equator, but I'll use my example here in the north now. It's been the summer. We've basically lived outside in true Scandinavian style. We've been outside a lot, make the most of the daylight, and now the weather is starting to turn. It's gone a bit colder, and we might have this tendency to kind of start cocooning inside, but we're not quite there yet. So keeping nature close. What I always used to do when I was still living in Denmark was I would resist putting the heating on for as long as possible. I still do that, and I would just like put an extra jumper on. I would still have the window open, and my English husband sometimes thinks that, she's insane. Why are you wearing 2 jumpers in the house? It's because I am still inviting nature in. I'm having the windows open. I am allowing, as much fresh air in as possible, the curtains open, and trying to embrace that's extending the summer season, if you like. Obviously, if you live in the southern hemisphere, you turn that all on its head. It's also the season to kind of, go for long walks in nature. In Scandinavia, we love foraging. This is a key time for foraging. It's going out and, well, you can legally do this, obviously, pick blackberries or apples. You start making moorish desserts, or warm baked desserts, something to kind of, again, bring you in touch with the season and with nature. And the last one is especially, I would say it's kind of committing to yourself and how you look after yourself. And this kind of comes under that 20/80 as well, because if 80% of it is all about the mindset, then it's also setting yourself up for that and taking some time out to invest in yourself for that. And I would say this September, things are kind of calming down a bit, and it's a really good time to maybe reconnect with the meditation practice, or if you have never meditated, then maybe it's a good time to start. If you've already got one, it's maybe reconsidering how you're doing it. And if the word meditation puts you off, then let me just say, I don't mean just necessarily sitting down, but it is a quieter time of year. So if it's not really worked for you before, then this maybe is a good time to try it again. But don't forget, meditations can also be a walking meditation. It can be an artistic meditation. I mean, you can doodle and draw and empty your mind and doodle and draw and see what comes out. Maybe you are doing arts and crafts. I mean, I know my grandmother, she made this most amazing crochet artwork, and she would completely switch off when she did it, and it was kind of a meditation for her. And if you are that way, how shall I say, talented, then you make use of that. I mean, I prefer also a really good walking meditation, and like I said, then you can combine being in nature and also kind of emptying your mind and tune into your thoughts, tune into what's really going on. Not to bash yourself up in the head, but just to kind of observe, what's going on, what thoughts are coming up, how am I feeling today, what am I inspired to do, what lights me up, what might I do, what might I choose not to do. Simple questions like that. And don't forget, the first hunch is always the best. It's kind of the intuitive hunch. Once we start thinking and really mulling over things, that's when we often, we over intellectualize things. Whereas what I'm talking about here is more about trusting in your own intuition, in your own guidance, if you like, your own inner GPS, your own true north compass, to kind of set you up for a good rest of the year. So there was 3 easy ways to help you maintain or build more energy. But I will also say I have got quite an exciting little thing coming up that I wanted to mention on here, and I will also post about this in the group. But on Sunday, the 25th of September at 4 p.m. English time, I am doing a co-hosting, basically an online workshop with probably one of my favorite energy workers. She is a Danish kinesiologist called Henriette Skov, and she is going to, in English, don't worry, we're not going to talk Danish. In English, she is going to share some very easy yet highly effective ways of maintaining and growing your energy every day. So these are proven techniques, and we've kind of set aside like 90 minutes. If you can't make it live for all of it or for any of it, then obviously there will be a recording as well. But I will post some more about that. Like I said, Sunday, the 25th of September, quite a key time really of year, as we're also in the Northern Hemisphere going into the darker, colder months. So I know some people might be really struggling with energy, and the good thing is that Henriette is going to be able to take questions as well. So if you've got very specific questions, she's used to doing very much hands-on workshops, so she really feeds off the people that are there. So this is a key, I would say, a key opportunity to kind of get some really practical tips, and also to kind of ask some questions from probably one of, I would say, the most talented kinesiologists I have ever worked with. So there we go. Lots of great energy, and talk about energy to hopefully get you through September in the best possible way to make not only the most of this transition of the season, but also to make the most of the rest of your year. I hope you have a really lovely week. I'll just check the comments. I couldn't see any come in, but sometimes it doesn't show me, and then once I finish, it shows. So again, if you have posted a question or anything like that, and I haven't seen it, I will reply to it as soon as I can. I am back, and hopefully I'll actually be able to get Facebook to work on my phone again. Would make things a bit easier. But anyway, have a lovely week ahead, and look out for your email newsletter, which is coming tomorrow, where I'll share some more energy related tips. Bye.